Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Generic Happy YouTube channel. I hope you're all doing well and staying safe. I'm Amar, otherwise known as Generic Happy, and to go along with all the excitement and all the videos I've already done about the Nintendo Direct for the Nintendo Switch 2, which is airing in less than 24 hours at this point, I wanted to do a video on my bingo card and just talk about some of the selections I made for my bingo card. I uploaded a predictions video yesterday, so a lot of these selections that I made are things I already talked about in that predictions video, but I figured this would also be another good opportunity just to talk about the direct a little bit more. Maybe talk about some of the other predictions I have that I didn't really feel too confident about in that video or to talk about in that video. But now, we're in a different type of video. We're talking about the bingo card. We're a little more laid back in this one. Just talk about Nintendo Switch 2, Nintendo Direct, and all that. But if you all enjoy this video, please feel free to leave a like on the video itself and comment down any predictions, any bingo entries that I have that you find interesting, any bingo entries that you think I should have added, maybe even a link to your own bingo cards if that's something you've done before or something you have already created. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So, yes, I am here to talk about bingo card. I'm here just to talk about the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct just for a little bit. I already uploaded a video today with my predictions. I uploaded that video today. I recorded it last night. And I uploaded a video talking about some of the news we already got for the Nintendo Direct today from Nintendo themselves. They talked a little bit about the Direct in terms of just a couple social media posts. We saw it will be an hour long, so that's something I talked about in the predictions video. I didn't know how long it will be. I was hoping it would be around an hour, like the January 2017 Nintendo Switch presentation, and now we know it will be. And that doesn't really change my predictions too much, because that's again what I was expecting it to be. But it's nice to know that it's at that hour point. There's obviously the possibility it could have been a little lower, maybe like 40 minutes, and then maybe 20 for each segment. But it's an hour, so we can expect around 30 for probably each segment. Maybe a little less for the hardware, maybe a little more for the software. But and then we also got the confirmation of that they will be hosting Nintendo Treehouses for April 3rd and April 4th. We also found out, it's not confirmed or anything, but if you go through the Nintendo Today app, you can see that they added the Treehouse segments to the calendar, and they have added a little time, for like times for those Treehouses, and they seem to be 4 hours long for the Thursday Treehouse, so that'll be in my time zone, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And then they added another entry for the Friday Treehouse Live, and that will be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So 4 hours and 3 hours respectively. I don't think we'll have that actually confirmed until the Treehouses actually air. We'll have to see if that happens. It also depends on if the Treehouses are actually live or if they are pre-recorded segments that they've all stitched together, with all the different games that they're going to show off in the Direct, and talk about the hardware and everything. Obviously, if it's like a live segment, I could see that going over like the 3 hours, 4 hours. But if it's something that they've already recorded, something that they've already edited together, and now they're going to upload it, they know it's within that 4 and 3 hour range. We'll have to see. That's just something I wanted to point out. We also saw with the Nintendo Today app in other regions that they've already posted what the final countdown post is for the Nintendo Direct, and it did show a special focus on the C button. We didn't see what the C button does or anything, but we did hear some sound effects that they included that we haven't heard before when it comes to the countdown or anything. And so it does seem like we're definitely gonna find out what the C button is. They're teasing it a lot more now since the Nintendo Direct last week. So it definitely seems like it's gonna be a big deal. It's gonna be something that's very important to this console. This render I have for my bingo card does not have the C button, so the C button's not there. The C button's now. We've seen it in action, at least on the hardware itself. But those are besides the point. You know, we can talk about some of the bingo card entries. Again, I mentioned a lot of these entries last night, so you know, there's not too many new ones here, but I feel like, you know, I wanted to do with like a little bit of an add-on to that video, just because there's still so much to talk about before the direct airs. And again, in less than 24 hours, you know, on the clock it shows 12:20 or 12:48. So, you know, we are a little over 20 hours away from the direct airing. So, and then there's a couple of things I didn't mention in that video that maybe I can expand on a little bit here. The biggest thing I have, and I guess I can talk about both of them: 3D Mario and Mario Kart at launch. We discussed this last night. I'm thinking those are probably the two guarantees in my opinion. I guess we could include the new Donkey Kong game in there if there isn't a new 3D Mario. You know, there could be a new DK game and a new 3D Mario in this direct. We obviously don't know yet, but I'm feeling like a 3D Mario and a Mario Kart at launch are probably the two. If like there's any guarantees on this bingo card, and I guess like the one that I would say like the most guaranteed is Mario Kart at launch. I'm thinking it is Mario Kart and new 3D Mario. I mentioned last night that I think, you know, the new 3D Mario will be something like a mix of Bowser's Fury and Super Mario Odyssey, and I'm still kind of feeling like that. I don't think they put out Bowser's Fury with 3D World for it to just be a one-off thing. I think that was something that they've been developing. You know, obviously I don't think it will look the same I don't think it's gonna use like the 3D World engine or like the Bowser's Fury engine. I think it's gonna look a lot closer to what Odyssey looks like, and like just a more visually enhanced version of Odyssey, like visually. But I do think we are gonna see, you know, just a mixture. I think we're gonna see larger open worlds than we saw with the Kingdoms and Odyssey. We might get like less open worlds, like in terms of places you can go, but they're like much larger. You know, if you were to like take maybe like 4 or 5 of the kingdoms and combine them to one, maybe we get like 3 or 4 or 5 of those types of locations in the actual game. But I do think we're gonna see a new 3D Mario tomorrow. I'm actually very surprised, and this is something that I don't think we've had recently when it comes to Nintendo Directs. At least, I guess last week's Nintendo Direct didn't really leak out, and I guess last year's June Direct didn't even really have many leaks related to it. But we don't really know much about this Direct in terms of leaks anyway, or either. So, you know, this is all going to be a major surprise. I'm very excited for that. You know, I'm happy there's no leaks because, you know, I wouldn't want a new 3D Mario to be leaked. I wouldn't want the Mario Kart at launch or just the new Mario Kart in general to be leaked. I wouldn't want to find out if, you know, there is a Fire Emblem game in this Direct. But I'm very excited. You know, I wanted to make this video just to talk about these entries and just talk about the Direct even more. You know, I don't really have many hardware entries on here. And I did talk about most of my hardware predictions last night. You know, the C button, I think that is like a social media type of button, you know, like a social hub button that's going to bring us to, you know, maybe a voice chat menu, or, you know, a area where we can chat about our games, you know, something that maybe isn't as large as Miiverse, but something like where you can have your own comments, maybe give some hints on some certain games. If you liked a game, you can rate it and then maybe give a little bit of a review of it, something like that. You know, I think it'd be cool for each, you know, major game on the Switch and the Switch 2 to have like its own entry in like a little Miiverse type of program on the Switch 2. That'd be really fun. That'd be a really fun thing for them to do. But, you know, besides that, you know, I already mentioned the C button. I think we will see the microphone tomorrow. I think we'll see that. The one thing I guess I could have expanded on a little bit more on yesterday was the MouseCon video, like what the mouse Joy-Con function will be. I'm thinking it's gonna be now that they've teased the C button, I'm thinking the C button is gonna be a little more major of like a new feature for the console, and maybe the mouse will be like, I'm thinking the mouse will be something closer to how important the IR camera is, or maybe even like the 3D, like the HD rumble is. When both of them are pretty important, I think HD rumble is much more important in that, like in that scenario. But I think it's gonna be like a mixture of like the importance to the developers and everything. I don't think it's gonna be like, I think what I'm trying to say is I don't think it's gonna be required from Nintendo that like third-party developers need to implement like a mouse function for their games. And I honestly don't really expect Nintendo to implement that with like all their games. So like Mario Kart, I'm not expecting to have a major function with like you can like drive around with a mouse or anything. Maybe 3D Mario, you can use the mouse and like you can like what Cappy did. I have a little picture of Cappy here, but like what Cappy kind of did where you threw Cappy out and like maybe you can like uncover certain secrets, like maybe a moon or stuff like that. I can see that being the case, but I don't think like you can move around with the mouse in the game. You know, maybe Donkey Kong. We'll have to see, but I'm thinking the C button's probably gonna be the more important thing. And if it isn't like a social hub feature, I've honestly become more favorable of the idea that it is something that's going to connect to the USB on the top, the not the micro USB, the USB Type C port that's on the top of the console. I've been thinking about that a little bit more. You know, that has been speculated for a long time that micro USB, I keep saying micro USB, that USB Type C port is going to allow for like certain accessories, you know, maybe the connectivity of a second screen to the Nintendo Switch 2. You know, we can have a upper screen and a bottom screen like on the DS, maybe a camera, like a you know, a camera accessory, maybe a microphone, maybe a like a better microphone compared to the one that's on the console itself. Maybe even like a notepad, you know, maybe like a digital notepad where you can connect like a screen, like a, I guess not even a notepad, like a drawing pad, like a small drawing pad. You connect that to the top of the that USB, and maybe you can draw stuff. Like if they maybe do a Flipnote Studio, they bring that over from like the DSi and the 3DS. But I'm very excited just to see what that C button is. You know, again, I just want to get those hardware things out of the way. I've been thinking about them a little bit more, but I think I said most of what I had for hardware last night. Just in general, you know, I'm expecting a lot of surprises for the hardware. So I'm expecting even more surprises for the hardware than I am honestly for the software. Just because, you know, we're bound to get some hits here on the software side, you know, a new 3D Mario, a new Mario Kart, a new Nintendo IP, something casual like a Nintendo Land, something like that. I'm honestly expecting more. I have more belief in that we will be able to predict the actual software stuff than the hardware stuff, and that's kind of exciting to me. You know, I wouldn't have gone into the direct expecting the Nintendo Switch January 17 presentation expecting to hear about HD Rumble or the IR camera, or you know, even just something as simple as like the new SKUs. And I guess that's something I should have probably mentioned. I don't think we're gonna see a new SKU. Like I think we're gonna see one SKU for this console. I don't think we're gonna see like different color Joy Cons or anything this time around. Just because, you know, this will be different in the future, but I'm expecting, you know, with the fact that the inner rail is also the same color as the Joy-Con rails, I'm thinking that I think that's like something that they are intentionally doing. Maybe for like special editions, the inside of the rails can also be like a different color. But, you know, unless they're going to introduce like a variant tomorrow that's like the inside rails all gray and the actual Joy-Con rail is also gray, or like I guess like the matte black that the console is now. Unless they're gonna reveal something like that, I don't see them doing a new SKU. But you know, I guess that's also possible. You know, we didn't know about the color Joy-Cons until the Switch presentation, so we'll have to see about that. But let's get on to the next couple of entries on my bingo card, just so we're not going to continue. Because I'm doing it this way because I want to stay somewhat focused. You know, I don't want to continue to just ramble on like in different segments and then, you know, never talk about the entries actually on the bingo card. But new Nintendo Switch Online update. I've been thinking about this for a little bit. It's something that I added on to the video at the end. Something I thought about just closer to the end of the predictions video. I think they're gonna talk about Nintendo Switch Online here. There's been a lot of going back and forth in my mind about what this actually will be. There's the chance that it is a new retro console added to the console, online console system. Maybe we do get GameCube added. Maybe we do get something like a little addition of like the Virtual Boy. I'm not really expecting that, but that'd be a cool addition. Maybe they don't charge anything extra for it, but just something like Nintendo, uh, just like a addition from like Nintendo's past or something like that. But if we were to get like a serious update, I'm thinking it is a new console, and I think that will correspond with a upgrade, not an upgrade, but like a higher price tier for Nintendo Switch Online that is exclusive to Nintendo Switch 2. Because I don't think they're gonna add any new features that are exclusive, that would raise the price for the Switch NSO without having like GameCube NSO be there, because then that wouldn't really make sense. To raise the price for those that are only playing on Switch but don't get like all the features. Something they're gonna introduce a new tier. I think the Nintendo Switch already existing online tiers will also be present on the Switch 2, but if you do want to upgrade, I think we're gonna get a new price point. I think we're gonna get a new tier that maybe includes a GameCube. Maybe it includes something like, if they're gonna charge for Switch 2 versions of already existing Switch games, maybe you get like a free one every year, not every year, but like maybe a free one every couple months. I guess I was gonna say a free one every month, and that would be cool, but I don't really think they're gonna do that. If that was like a feature, I think it would be like every couple minutes, maybe like every 2-3 months we get like a new addition to that program, with like a Breath of the Wild, maybe a Tears of the Kingdom, a Super Mario Odyssey, a Splatoon 3, depending on what we see in this direct, something like that. That gets like visual upgrades, it's an enhanced version, and you get it for free, technically, quote unquote, within the program itself. We kind of saw them do that with like the DLCs that they added to the NSO, like the Splatoon 2 DLC. I don't know if they added Breath of the Wild's DLC to the NSO, but we saw they added like the Mario Kart Booster Pass, and we saw they added the Animal Crossing New Horizons DLC. So it would be like I guess an increase of that nature. We get a couple every year of the upgrades that they're adding to the Switch games. And that's if they even charge for upgraded Switch games. We have to see. I think that's something they're going to talk about tomorrow. But we'll have to see about that. And then a little, non first party announcement. I think we are going to see a major Capcom announcement here. That could be really anything. That could be Ace Attorney 7. That could be a new Resident Evil remake. Monster Hunter Rise 2, Monster Hunter Wild, something like that. I think we're going to get a major Capcom announcement. Capcom has been a pretty substantial supporter of the Switch and most Nintendo consoles recently. So I think if there is like a third party developer that's going to have a pretty major presence in this direct, it will be Capcom. And I'm not opposed to that, obviously. Capcom games are really cool, really awesome. I think a lot of people, if like Capcom were to announce a new game, if I had to make like a prediction, I think a lot of people want to see a new Mega Man. I'm not really sure we're gonna see that in this direct. At the end of the day, what's really gonna make this direct impactful is, I think, if we get new games. Obviously we're gonna see a couple of older third-party games finally make it over to the Switch and Nintendo ecosystem, like a new Call of Duty, or maybe not a new Call of Duty, but like a port of the most recent Call of Duty. Something like a Elden Ring, a Baldur's Gate. I'm just gonna mention them here because I do also have the entry for a 2020's Game of the Year, which would be a Baldur's Gate or Elden Ring, or something like that. But I think what's going to make or break this direct, from the perspective of third-party developers and third-party games, will be the announcements of new third-party games. If we get a couple, but they're pretty big, I think that's going to be really impactful. If we get a bunch and they're like not the biggest announcements, maybe like one or two big announcements, and then a bunch of smaller third-party games. I think that's also gonna be really cool. If we get a mixture of like older games and newer games, I think that's gonna be really cool. But I think for obviously, I think the first party games and the hardware has become like the main breaking point of the direct. But for smaller things, in the future when we're watching back this direct, if they reveal new Mega Man, if Atlas comes and reveals a new Shin Megami Tensei, if we see a new Team Asano game, I guess I can probably also just pretty much get most of the third party ones out. If we see a new Team Asano game, or Dragon Quest 1 and 2 HD 2D, or a new Bravely Default, or the Final Fantasy remakes of well, not remakes, but Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth and remake, or Final Fantasy 9 remake, as we have seen the Final Fantasy 7 9 25th anniversary website go up. Stuff like that. I think new announcements, maybe with a handful of major ports or older games making it over to the console. I think that will make or break the third party stuff for this direct, and that's also usually the case with like most directs. We usually get some pretty big third party announcements, and then we get like a lot of smaller ones that are either from games that either from like series that aren't too known, or they're from they're games that like have been on other consoles for a little bit now, and they're finally making it over to the Nintendo console. A new DK game that kind of goes along with 3D Mario. I am thinking that if we get 3D Mario, we probably don't get a new DK, just because there is a lot of games I think Nintendo needs to announce from themselves, like from first party wise. And so I don't think if they're having a new Mario this year, they're going to also have a new Donkey Kong. But it'd be cool, if we get like some kind of 3D game that combines Mario and Donkey Kong. Maybe I get both of those slots on the bingo card. But it seems like a new DK game is probably like a year 2, year 3 type of thing. So I'm not going to talk much about that. There is obviously the rumors that EPD 8, which is the I believe it's EPD Tokyo, are working on a 3D game, like a 3D Mario game and a 2D game. In this case, I think in this scenario, like that I mentioned that it'd be like they're working on 3D Mario and a new 2D Donkey Kong. But we'll just have to again wait and see on that. And then the final, major thing that I have on that row, and probably the biggest announcement that would be in this direct outside of a new 3D Mario, is a tease of a new 3D Zelda game. I'm not talking about like a tease like what we got with like the Wii U, where like we saw like a tech demo of sorts. I think like if we do see new 3D Zelda tomorrow, it will be like what that 3D Zelda actually ends up being. And I think that's pretty exciting. But again, that seems like something they could wait on. If they want to talk about a game that's a ways out, like the Metro Prime 4, though they didn't even announce Metro Prime 4 in the 2017 presentation. But if they want to talk about a game that's ways out, just to show how far thinking they are with the releases for this console, then a new 3D Zelda would make sense to be teased here. But I think that's something they can wait for like the major June direct or the major summer direct of next year, that we see that in. Just to move a little bit away from the bingo card for a second, we already talked about Team Asano and Final Fantasy. It's kind of crazy how quickly this direct has can't come up on us. We watched the reveal in January 16th of this year, and I thought it would feel a lot longer, but and it's kind of feeling long now, as we are on the last day, that we're just anticipating what they're going to show tomorrow, and we're hoping time goes a lot quicker now. But it has generally gone a lot quicker, and maybe the direct last week helped move us from that week to this week. But it's kind of interesting because we didn't really get many Nintendo launches in between that release. Between that reveal and this direct, all we really got was Donkey Kong Country Returns HD and a Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition. And so when you think about that, we would think, oh, it felt like it's such a long time between that reveal and this direct, but it honestly hasn't. I've been in my opinion, time has flew by pretty fast, and I'm very happy about that. But it's also kind of made it where if you like go to my channel right now, I have uploaded a bunch of Switch 2 videos back to back to back to back because I had a bunch of things I wanted to talk about, and there's still things I want to talk about that maybe I'll be able to upload. But I'm thinking those things will probably be combined to like a video, at some point, for like next year. I'm talking about next year at this point, but it has come really quick, and I'm very happy. I'm very excited for tomorrow, and I'll probably keep saying that as we go through this bingo card, but I'm very excited for tomorrow. I'm very excited just to see what happens tomorrow, the games they announce tomorrow, everything. And that kind of goes into the next bingo card thing, Mr. Sakurai game reveal. I would love for it to be a new Kid Icarus game. We'll have to see. We did, as I mentioned last night, or I guess this morning. I gotta get used to saying, because I did record it last night, but I uploaded this morning. I did say that Mr. Sakurai has been working on this game for at least 2 years now, and so it would make sense for that to be a reveal. And when you look at different entries I have on here, like Next Level Games, this is kind of based on more of how long it's been since they released their last game. It has been 6 years, or even more than 6 years at this point, closer to 6.5 years since Smash Ultimate released, and it has been about 3.5 years since Sora released in Smash Ultimate, and that was pretty much the end of major content development for that game. So we are, in an area where if Mr. Sakurai has a game that's ready to be shown off, this would be the time for it. But that also depends. If it is a new Smash Brothers game, I think they do hold on to that, because I don't think that's coming out this year. They hold off for that until maybe the early direct next year to reveal that. But if it's not a new Smash Brothers game, I could definitely see being revealed tomorrow, and then having that reveal be something that I guess the one thing we have to consider with predictions is what games are going to be releasing this year, because that's definitely what they're going to be revealing in this direct. That's going to be the main bulk of first party announcements. So if we do get a Mario Kart at launch, and then maybe the casual game go alongside that, and then maybe Metroid Prime 4 in July, and then Pokemon Legends EA in November, that fills in June, that fills in major games in July, and that fills in a major game in October and November. So we pretty much have August and September left. Maybe a new Kid Icarus could fit in September. Maybe a new IP could fit in September. Maybe a new Star Fox can fit in August, September. That's what I'm mainly thinking about with these predictions. And then obviously I think they're also going to announce some games for next year, and that could be where the new Donkey Kong comes in, or a new Pikmin, or an old Nintendo IP revival, or a new Kirby game, something like that. For me, that's mainly what I'm thinking about these predictions. So I think if it's a new Smash game, I think we will see it next year, and I think we'll see it in this direct. If it's a new Kid Icarus game, I think we will see it in this direct, and it will release this year. And then if it's a new IP, I think that would fall in more with the Kid Icarus thing, where we will see it announced this year and probably released this year. But obviously, it also just depends on how much development they've been able to put in the game. From what we got from Mr. Sakurai's videos, they seem like they started in the middle of 2022. So by the Switch 2 launch, we'll probably be at a point where it's been in 3 years in development. So maybe that's not enough time. So maybe that'll be a next year thing, but we'll just have to see. I've already mentioned the EPD4 casual game reveal. I'm hoping it's a new Nintendo Land, but I'm expecting, if we're looking at the bingo card in this respect, I am expecting the casual game reveal to also be I'm expecting to get both of these through the casual game reveal, just because I'm expecting the new IP to largely be something like maybe Mr. Sakurai's game or the casual game. The one thing I didn't mention yesterday, and it's something that I really wanted to mention, and I wrote down, but I forgot to mention. I said the word mention a lot there, but I'm feeling like it's either a new IP or a new Nintendo Switch Sports Resort, the next level to Nintendo Switch Sports. Just because it was kind of weird that they added basketball to Nintendo Switch Sports last year. Um, at that point, the game had been out of development, like major development, for about a year. At that, like maybe a year and a half. I'm thinking maybe a year and 3 months or something like that. But the game hadn't really been getting major updates since the middle of 2023, and then for them to add basketball back, it is kind of interesting. Are they working on a new Nintendo Switch Sports, and what they did with Mario Party, Super Mario Party, and Mario Party Superstars, where they added online multiplayer to Super Mario Party right before Super Mario. Okay, I'm having a little bit of a. I think I'm confusing myself a lot when I'm saying here, but Super Mario Party got online multiplayer a little bit before Mario Party Superstars was revealed and released. That made a lot more sense. But I think that maybe that could be what we're looking at here, where they added basketball. It's something they've been working on. It was a cool thing that they could add to Switch Sports, and like it doesn't require too much development time just to be able to add it to that game. But on the background, what they're actually working on is a new Nintendo Switch Sports that maybe uses the mouse con a little bit. Maybe there is a sport where you are curling or something, and the mouse con can help you stabilize. We'll have to see. But I think it's either Nintendo Switch Sports or a new IP, something like 1-2 Switch that does use the mouse con a little bit. It could be something like Mario Paint. That's something that I've been seeing mentioned a lot, that with the new mouse, a new mouse con would be pretty cool to also introduce a new Mario Paint with. And that could be that August September release. Back in 2020, not 2020, back in 2017, the Switch lineup for first party wise was Breath of the Wild, 1-2 Switch, Snipperclips, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, ARMS, I guess Flip Wars, I think was also in the May slot. So Flip Wars, ARMS, Animal Crossing, not Animal Crossing. I'm looking at Animal Crossing right here. Splatoon 2, Mario and Rabbids. I don't remember if we got a game in September. We might have not, because we got 2 games in October in the form of Fire Emblem Warriors and Super Mario Odyssey. And then we got Xenoblade Chronicles 2. That was around 7 to 8 major, maybe even that might have been like 7 to 9 major announcements that the Switch presentation had and released in the same year. So like a new mouse con Mario Paint could work. Maybe that is at launch with a new Mario Kart. We just have to really see. As I mentioned last night or this morning, what I mentioned was, I think if Mario Kart's at launch, it's either gonna be it's like a companion of sorts from first party wise. Will either be something like the casual game or Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. It depends on what Nintendo wants Mario Kart to be. If they want it to be the more casual family based game that a normal like 1-2 Switch, Nintendo Switch Sports, Nintendo Land, Wii Sports game would have been, then we could see that be that, and then maybe Metroid Prime 4. But if they want it to be like the more major, the game that pushes the console, and single player and multiplayer, from a single player multiplayer perspective, then maybe the casual game would be the other launch title. Maybe that's Mario Paint. Maybe you have 2 Mario games at launch, but we'll just have to wait and see on that. Fire Emblem game, I only really added that one because I'm thinking, it's gonna be kind of interesting to see how they handle the original Switch going forward. We got the new Tomodachi Life announced, we got the new Rhythm Heaven announced. Those are both for next year, so we don't have any games slated for this year besides Legends ZA, Pokemon Legends ZA, and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. Do we get a cross-gen game announced here? I'm thinking no, but if there was one to be announced, I think it would be a Fire Emblem game. I think it will be the heavily rumored Fire Emblem 4 remake. And so, if that's how they, if they want to announce that here, like they did with Fire Emblem Warriors, they announced it as an exclusive for the Nintendo Switch 2, at the current moment. And then maybe like in a month or so, maybe not a month, but maybe like 2 weeks from now, or maybe right after the Direct airs, we do find out that, there is also a Switch 1 version available that will be available at the same time. I believe they did that with Fire Emblem Warriors. They teased it in the Switch presentation, they didn't really say it was gonna be a 3DS game, and then in the Fire Emblem Direct that followed the presentation, then we found out it would be a 3DS game. We've been talking for a little bit now. We're only through 10 slots, but I've also hinted at some of the other slots later. So, we're at like 15 slots we've talked about. But a new Nintendo published indie game, that's just something I thought about. A lot of these predictions, like we look at new 3D Mario, that did show up in the 2017 presentation. I think a new Capcom game maybe showed up in that presentation. Maybe it showed up in the sizzle reel, but I think major Capcom announcement was probably there. Breath of the Wild for Zelda, Fire Emblem game, Fire Emblem Warriors, 1-2 Switch. We saw Project Octopath and Octopath Traveler. That's from Team Asano. But some of these predictions are based on what we saw in that presentation. So I just added a new Nintendo published indie game like Snipperclips. Maybe we don't see that here. I think of a lot of the first party ones that I put on this bingo card. That's probably closer to the least likely of them. Just because, it's very possible Nintendo saw a lot of potential Snipperclips, but they don't really have that game right now. That's like, maybe the Snipperclip developers are working on a Snipperclips 2 or something like that. But it really that really seems like a case by case basis type of thing. We didn't really get many indies published by Nintendo. The two that come to mind is the Cadence of Hyrule and Snipperclips in this generation. So we'll just have to wait and see. I don't think Pushmo and Freaky Forms are indies. They might have been developed by external developers, but I think they are Nintendo IPs. And I think maybe Snipperclips is also a Nintendo IP at this point. That's a little bit of a tangent, but EPD5's next game. I made this bingo card about 2-3 weeks ago. And so back then, I thought that an Animal Crossing or Splatoon 4 announcement was pretty likely. If we do get an announcement for EPD5 in this direct, I'm thinking it's Splatoon 4. I don't think that they're going to announce Animal Crossing and make it where we are waiting a very similar time frame between when New Horizons was revealed in the September 2018 direct to when it released in the March 2020 direct. I think if they do have a new Animal Crossing announcement, it will be next year or later this year for like a early 2027 thing. But next year is Tomodachi Life, and I don't really see them doing both Animal Crossing and Tomodachi Life in the same direct, or not in like the same year. Just because they're still, they're very different, but they're also very similar in like a simulation-based standpoint. It's like a life sim. So I think for me, it wouldn't really make sense to have a new Animal Crossing, a new Tomodachi Life next year. And like I said, I think maybe we get one announcement that's like a far ways out, release-wise, but I don't think that's going to be Animal Crossing. I think that would be something like a new 3D Zelda. So, I think they would save Animal Crossing for a direct later this year or next year. And that brings up Splatoon 4. I think we are a little too close to when Splatoon 3 released for Splatoon 4 to be ready. Especially since I don't really think that they are going to, well, I mean, they kind of did it with Splatoon and Splatoon 2. There wasn't an Animal Crossing between then. But I think they're going to want to try to get another Animal Crossing out before Splatoon 4 releases. We are 5 years since Animal Crossing New Horizons released. We're beyond 5 years now. And I believe 3.5 years since the final update for the game release, or the final major game content update. So I'm thinking they are probably going to want to try to get another Animal Crossing out before a new Splatoon. And then maybe they have Splatoon 3 as like a enhanced version on the Switch 2 for like maybe a year or two into the launch. And then they announce Splatoon 4. And maybe that releases like in 2028. But, I think before the Tomodachi Life announcement, I think an EPD5 announcement was a little more likely than it is now. But something like Splatoon 4, I think, is very possible. Something maybe like an Animal Crossing spin-off, I think, is possible. But I'm thinking a new Animal Crossing is a little bit of a, did take a little bit of a hit with Tomodachi Life being announced. So I think, that's more likely to be a later this year announcement, next year announcement. We see the Nintendo Switch 2 logo. That's my free space. I thought it was pretty cool. Just have the logo there. We've already mentioned the new Nintendo IP that could be coming from Mr. Sakurai's new game, or that could be from the EPD4 game, or it could just be like a totally new game. Again, looking at that presentation, we did get Snipperclips, which was in theory a new IP from Nintendo. We did get ARMS, and we did get 1-2 Switch, so that's 3 new IPs. And I guess if you also consider Fire Emblem Warriors there, so that's 4 new IPs announced in that direct, or that presentation. I haven't really mentioned one, it would be obviously pretty hard to predict what a new IP would be, because we don't know what it is. Like, we wouldn't really be able to know what it is, but I could see, and this goes back to the Nintendo Switch Online update, them maybe showing off the NSO playtest game a little bit in this direct. But again, I'm not sure how much they're going to talk about actual like games that aren't released for Nintendo Switch yet, but are still coming to the Nintendo Switch. Outside of something like Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, which I think we'll be getting a Switch 2 version, or something like Pokemon Legends ZA. So I don't know how much they would talk about games that already, that would be cross-gen besides those two. So I'm thinking maybe a playtest is again in a direct later this year, and maybe it releases, with enhancements on the Nintendo Switch too. And maybe it's like a free benefit for the Switch Online players. Maybe that's what the new tier would be, but I don't think we're gonna see that in this direct. As cool as it would be, but that'll also fall into like a new Nintendo IP. So I'm thinking, while we're on this point, I'm thinking we are gonna see 2 to 3 new IPs from Nintendo in this direct. I guess it's very possible we don't see any new IPs, but I'm thinking Nintendo at least has one, and I'm gonna try to lean maybe to 2 or 3, to correspond with, a 3D Mario, a new Mario Kart, maybe a new Kid Icarus, something like that. Maybe a new Kirby, and then in that mix we get like a couple of new IPs. Maybe it isn't from Nintendo themselves. Maybe it is from a partnership that they make with like Ubisoft or Square Enix, something like that. But maybe a new Astral Chain will show up here. But something like that. The next thing is a hardware point of view, or just like a non-software point of view, and that is the price point of the console, $400 to $449.99. I probably should have made $399 to like $0.99 to $449.99. Because what if it is $399? But I'm thinking it's going to be in that range. I don't think it's going to go much higher than that. It could go a little lower, but I don't see them reaching 500, and that would be like the next step up. I had in the prediction video, I think it's going to be like 440, so I think it's going to be in the upper end of that, but I think it will be within that range. I don't really see a reason why they wouldn't try to put it in that range. Obviously, there is a lot of reasons why they may not put it in that range, but I think that's the price point they're at least aiming for the console itself. It would allow them to then have a Switch 2 bundle with Mario Kart next year this holidays that is like $500, or a later edition like a OLED that's reaches 500, or a light in 2027 that goes to 350 or something like that. But we'll just have to see on that. We'll go down now. So Metroid Prime 4 Beyond, I already mentioned, I think it's gonna be a Switch 2 version. I think it makes sense to have a Switch 2 version, just because and it ultimately depends on how they're going to handle backwards compatibility on the Switch 2. We saw in the mention with the Nintendo Switch virtual game cards that they did mention Nintendo Switch 2 versions of games. So I think that would make sense to be something like Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. But we also didn't get a release date in the last direct for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. And while I think that direct in general was solely just to show the last couple of new entries in series that is coming to Nintendo Switch, and that's why we did get Rhythm Heaven and Tomodachi Life, even though they're very likely, at least 9 months away. Um, I'm thinking that like the reason why we all saw those two, and then maybe Metro Prime 4 and Legends CA, is just because those are like the last new entries for games that are coming to the Nintendo Switch. So in theory, it makes sense why it was there with no date, but I also think they added it just because they wanted to give one last push that it will be on Nintendo Switch before this direct, where they show off it is also coming to Nintendo Switch 2, and they give it a release date. I'm thinking it's not at launch. That is a highly debated topic right now. Is it a launch title? Is it not a launch title? I am leaning towards Mario Kart and the casual game to be the launch titles, and then Metroid Prime 4 to be something that comes out in July. But I think we will see an enhanced version of it pop up in this direct. I guess it would be a little different than it was with like Breath of the Wild, because comparably, I think Breath of the Wild on the Wii U and the Switch are very similar in performance. I'm assuming Metroid Prime 4 will not be that as similar. It would be able to use a lot of the hardware advantages that the Switch 2 brings, but I do think that they are still going to try to push Metroid Prime 4 as a major Switch release with and that it runs really well still on the Switch. And I think it really will run really well on the Switch. It does already look really beautiful on the Switch. So, if it runs 60 FPS and it's like a 1080p game, I think it'll be pretty cool. But I think they are gonna try to push it there, but still mention that it is getting a Switch 2 enhanced version. When the actual game releases in July or August. Now the next couple of ones, this whole next two rows are just a lot more predictions in terms of like things I hope to see or like what I would want to see. A new 3D Mario makes sense. A new 3D Zelda makes sense. A Donkey Kong game makes sense. Mr. Sakurai's game, we know he's working on a new game, so it makes sense to be here. A new game from EPD4, or just like a new casual game, that makes sense. Fire Emblem makes sense. EPD5, maybe it's a little less sense, but it still makes sense to be here. And a new Nintendo IP makes sense. A new Star Fox game, it doesn't make as much sense, but I still wanted to add it. It would be cool to see a new Star Fox game. We haven't seen one in over 8 years now, closer to 9 years. So it would be cool to see a new Star Fox. I don't know what they're doing with the franchise, so it could be that maybe the new 3D Mario slot is instead a new Star Fox, and like they put a lot of time into a new Star Fox, developing it from the ground up for the Switch 2, and maybe that could be a good use of the mouse con. Maybe you do have a new Star Fox that is very in you're actually being able to drive and fly the R-Wing and the ships all together. You're in the cockpit itself and you're able to just fly around with the mouse con. I think that'd be pretty cool. But we'll have to see. That kind of goes on with the same thing with Pikmin, though they are on different like levels. I think a new Pikmin is obviously in the works, but we probably won't see that here. Again, if they want to show off a long-term game, I think a new Star Fox or Pikmin could work for that, and maybe not show off a new 3D Zelda tease yet. But I think Pikmin 5 is what it probably would be. Is probably like maybe another 2 or 3 years off. A new Star Fox game could come out this year if it is in development and like they've been working on it for like the last like 4 or 5 years. And I could see that then being like the August or September game, and then the perfect launch year, for the second half of this year with Mario Kart, EPD4, Metroid Prime 4, maybe something like a ARMS 2 or like a new IP in August, Star Fox in September, 3D Mario in October, and like Pokemon in November, and maybe something even in December. I think that'd be pretty cool. And then, we did see certain releases happen in the same month during the Switch 2, in the Switch release year, with like Fire Emblem Warriors and Super Mario Odyssey. So we could see 2 games in 1 year, like we're seeing what I'm predicting will be like the launch will be. But yeah, it's possible we see a new Star Fox. I don't think we're gonna see a new Pikmin again, unless they want to tease something that's a ways out. But we'll just have to wait and see on that. The last, I already mentioned the 2020 Game of the Year. I guess It Takes Two could also appear here, but I put those more for things like Baldur's Gate and Elden Ring. I couldn't really decide on one, so I figured, why not choose two? And just slot them in there. I don't think, obviously, the other game of the years were things like, again, It's Take Two, which already is on the Switch, so I don't think we'll see it here. But like Astrobot and The Last of Us Part 2 would also fall into that category, and I don't think either of them are gonna make it over to the Switch too. Because they're obviously PlayStation exclusives. So yeah, I'm putting a lot of that entry just mainly into Elden Ring and Baldur's Gate. And we've already mentioned Call of Duty, so Xbox port could be Call of Duty, a new Call of Duty, but I'm also thinking it's going to be something like we've seen Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion remake be teased. I'm not sure if that would fall into like a port category, but obviously it isn't like being developed like only for the Switch 2. Like it's gonna be announced for all the consoles, presumably. So, but when I'm talking about there, I'm thinking maybe something like a Hi-Fi Rush, or something like a maybe a Banjo-Kazooie. But I think something from Xbox will be in this direct. Maybe not like a game that has already released on the consoles. Maybe it will be a game that's not released yet. But I think something from Xbox will appear here. A mid-June console launch. I think that's probably the safest prediction I have on this bingo card. I think it just makes sense. It could be May, it could be June, it could be July. I don't see us going beyond July without the console, just because of what we know about the Nintendo's launch lineup. Not launch year or launch lineup. Their releases for the year so far. We don't know anything beyond June, or even beyond now. We don't really know anything beyond March. Or beyond April. So I think it makes sense for the console to be out in June or May or June. I'm putting mid-June. I mentioned yesterday, I think it's going to be within the range of like June 12th, June 13th, or June 19th, June 20th. I'm leaning towards June 12th and June 13th for that. And, it's not really much more to say on that. And a new Nintendo IP revival. And that's kind of why I wanted to make this video, because I didn't mention really any examples of that in my video yesterday. I obviously have Ice Climbers and Balloon Fight as like the two examples on my bingo card, but I've also in my on my direct bingo card for last week, I did add Pilotwings, and so I think it'd be pretty cool for a new Pilotwings to show up here. Maybe to recreate a little bit of what the 3DS launch here was, though. Obviously we didn't really have any other launches for first party wise besides Nintendogs and Pilotwings at launch for the Switch 2. For the Nintendo 3DS. So obviously I think we would want to have a little bit more diverse lineup in terms of like Mario Kart and EPD game, though I guess EPD4 could work on a new Pilotwings. So I just wanted to mention Pilotwings. Maybe something like an F-Zero. We saw F-Zero 99, so I guess that also has kind of been revived as a series already, but something like a new F-Zero, Pilotwings. I have Captain Toad written down. That's not for like the new Nintendo IP revival. I just wanted to mention it. I don't think we're going to get a new Captain Toad with the new 3D Mario on the horizon, but still, I think a new Captain Toad would be pretty cool. But yeah, a new Nintendo IP revival. Again, I guess the big thing here is this the time to announce a new IP revival? Not even a new IP, just like an old IP Nintendo revival. Maybe not, unless it's something huge like, a Mother 3 remake, or I think that'd really be it. Maybe a new Pilotwings, something like that, but obviously something like that could be held off for like another direct where, that is like the big major announcement, like in the middle of the direct. In a direct like this, where you're gonna have Mario Kart, probably a new 3D Mario, probably a new Nintendo IP announced, probably something like a casual game, probably something, some bigger announcements here. Maybe like something that's smaller, that is a lot older, and that hasn't really been revisited in recent years. Isn't something you want to announce here, unless it is coming out this year, obviously. The last two entries, because we already really talked about Mario Kart and launch, is a new Next Level Games announcement. I have mentioned Mr. Sakurai as an announcement, and I'm kind of using that same logic here. We haven't had a new game from Next Level Games since 2022, and Mario Strikers Battle League did stop receiving major updates at the end of 2022. So, if they're working on a new game, maybe it is time for it to be shown off. Maybe it is ready to be shown off. Maybe it doesn't release this year, maybe it releases early next year. But still, I think, alongside, the games that we assume are going to be here, I think a new Next Level Games could serve as like the Monolith Soft's Xenoblade Chronicles 2 reveal from the 2017 Switch presentation. And then the last that was a voice crack. And then the last entry I have on here is a co-owned Nintendo IP game. I do have Kirby and Pokemon as the main examples. I think that is the two ones that could appear here. Again, I already mentioned Pokemon Legends ZA. I think that'd be a pretty big announcement. Like if it were to get a new trailer here with maybe a new Mega or something like that, I think that'd be pretty big. Obviously, we also have Kirby here. The thing with Kirby is it would probably be Forgotten Land 2, like the next 3D Kirby that's announced here, and not something like a new 2D Kirby. But there's also been a lot of rumors that the next 2D Kirby is a Planet Robobot remake or remaster, and so I don't think that would be announced here, because I think that would be a Switch 1 game, and then maybe like it's backwards compatible with the Switch 2. Same thing with Fire Emblem. I think Fire Emblem is actually going to get like major enhancements on the Switch 2. I don't think Planet Robot would. So I don't think that would be announced here. And I think maybe we are a little too soon to see the new 3D Kirby. Though by the time I think it would be releasing, which would be early next year, like 2026, March next year, that would be 4 years since not 3D Land. Since Forgotten Land did release. So it would make sense. So that's why I wanted to mention it here. I still think it's a little too soon, but it's very possible. And that does finish out this whole bingo card. We already again talked about Mario Kart at launch to a very good extent. I mentioned it yesterday. I think Mario Kart's gonna focus on the 24 playable racers type of like thing where you can play like 24. There can be 24 people on a course at one time, and I think it will go into the tour mechanics a lot more than not a lot more, but like we saw them already add a bunch of like tour maps that did have alternate paths that changed per lap with the booster course packs. So I think we will see more of those there. And then obviously it is harder to predict what I think the new gimmick will be for that game, but I'm just very excited to see that. Maybe the new gimmick is that it has 24 racers all at once. Maybe it's like everything's a new gimmick. Maybe they add back the anti-gravity. Maybe double dash mechanics. Maybe I think glider and underwater racing will probably always be a part of the series from now on. But yeah, that is all I have just for this bingo card video. I just wanted to do this video because of mainly us thinking about Pilotwings, but I wanted to find a reason to talk about Pilotwings, so I had this bingo card ready. I was gonna do a bingo card video, anyways, so I figured, Pilotwings. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything from the notes I made. Yesterday I did say I think the opener would be Mario Kart. The new casual game would be like this, the first major middle of the direct. Switch to enhanced games would be the second major middle, with Metroid Prime 4 and Legends ZA maybe showing up there, and then the closer would be a new 3D Mario for holiday of this year. But yeah, I think I did mention everything that I had written down except Pilotwings. And that's why I wanted to make this video, because I didn't mention Pilotwings. But yeah, and the Switch to enhanced stuff, I think I already mentioned Metroid Prime 4. I think Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom also could fall there as well. But yeah, this is kind of like a add-on again to the prediction video, but I just wanted to talk about it a little bit more. We are getting very close to this direct. Nintendo did again confirm that we do have an hour-long direct tomorrow with Treehouse Lives on both Thursday and Friday. I was kind of honestly thinking they would do a Treehouse Live after tomorrow's direct, but that also, if it is actually like a live segment, it makes sense why they aren't doing it like that, just because it probably would be kind of hard to coordinate. Something like that probably would have leaked out a little earlier, because they would have to announce it a little bit earlier. But yeah, I will be. I mentioned it earlier, but I will obviously be recording my reaction to the direct tomorrow. This is the biggest direct of our lives up to this point, so I want to make sure I'm there. Obviously, I'm not. I haven't fully solidified if I will be live streaming the direct. Maybe, you know, the last time I did live stream a direct, it did have a little bit of issues in terms of like lag and stuff, and I'm not sure if I have fixed those issues yet. So maybe tomorrow would be a good test, but I also don't want to test out tomorrow like the biggest direct again of our lives as like the main, as just a normal test. So I will definitely be recording my reaction, so you all will see my reaction soon after the direct airs at the very least. I'll be trying to upload that while I'm trying to get also a pre-order in for the console itself. But yeah, I'm very, 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 very excited for this direct. I may still have another video come out later today about the direct, anything we might see and stuff like that. I did want I was mentioning earlier, I did want to make other videos before this direct happened, but I kind of started making these videos a little bit later than I wanted to. The only other video I really wanted to make was a predictions for what I think the rest of the year looks like from Nintendo, including the Switch 2 and the Switch 1. And that would include things like the Metroid Prime remasters and like Kirby Planet Robot and stuff like that. But I think I will do a video like that next year, just because we are going to find out the Switch 2 lineup tomorrow. And so I think it's also, my predictions for this direct also mention a lot of what I think this lineup will be. So I think when we come to next year, I think that'll be a lot easier of a video to make for me, and a lot more speculative, which is what I would want the video to be. That is all I have for you all today. Or at least for now. Then maybe not for the rest of the day. Maybe I'll have another video up later today. But that's all I have for you all to now. So I hope you all do make you happy, because I'm Generic Cappy, and I will see you all tomorrow at the very latest for the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct. I've been calling it the Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct, but it's actually called the Nintendo Direct Nintendo Switch 2. So I will see you all for the Nintendo Direct Nintendo Switch 2 tomorrow. I'm very excited. Again, we are, I guess we started this video right before it turned 1 o'clock, and now it is 1:45. So we are closer to now 19 hours until the direct airs. So yeah, that is all again I have for you all today. I hope you all found this video pretty interesting. Again, it's just another discussion video, but I hope you all do make sure you're happy, because I'm Generic Cappy, and I will see you all very, very soon, either with a prediction or another video. And then at least, I will see you all for a reaction to the direct when that happens, and maybe some Treehouse stuff when the Treehouse live streams happen. But yes, that is all I have for you today. So I hope you all are doing well and staying safe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye. Nintendo Switch 2 Nintendo Direct very, 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 very soon. Oh my god.